Well, happy Monday, everybody. Monday morning. Don't you just love it? You know, after I finished working 40 years ago at a regular job, I used to take Mondays off because it was such a treat not to have to get up Monday morning and go to work. I'm Dr. Laurie Davis, and you're listening to and watching the Today Show here on the Disability Channel. And don't you love the green? Oh, the leaves, the grass, everything's so beautiful out there. The dandelions, they even look pretty. I used to pull them up all the time, but I read where if you keep your dandelions going, it helps the bee population, so I don't pull them out anymore. And I've been warning my neighbors not to do that either. Well, we have a busy week here at the Disability Channel. Little warm thoughts for our founder, Jay. Not feeling that great today, so Jay, get over yourself, get better, and get back here. We miss you already. So over to you for just energy, healing energy for you today. And to all of our American viewers, it's Memorial Day in the United States today. And of course, we have a huge following from California. So out to you guys and enjoy your holiday and remembering those veterans and remembering all the guys and gals that served in the military, keeping us safe. Oh my gosh, it's it's a big job, and they don't often get the recognition that they deserve. Isn't that the truth? Oh dear. But not here at the Disability Channel. We're all about the veterans and disabled community and being able to provide entertainment and employment and job opportunities. Did you know that when somebody takes their media training at the Disability Channel, which is, by the way, funded by provincial and federal government money, that 85% of our graduates get work right away? They get jobs. So we're all about that, supporting our veterans and our disabled community. And today on the show, I have my beautiful co-host, Nadzin DeGagne. And Nadzin and I were just laughing up a storm because we have sort of a very serious topic today, because today is self-care, self-worth. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened this time last year. So when we bring Nadzin into the studio, I'm going to share that with her and with you. And because today we're going to talk about, Monday is self-care, self-worth, taking, just knowing that we have value. So we're going to talk about dysfunction today, but it's a little funny story, and we want to have fun with it. We don't want it to be too heavy, because things can get very heavy if you get too serious. So we're not going to make fun of it, but to find out about dysfunction, I didn't even have to go outside my family. So that's the way most of us are in, the position most of us are in. Also, coming up this week on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we have our quarterly event called Recovery and Performance Summit. This is our third one. And we have an amazing lineup of speakers. 18 speakers are going to share a recovery story. How cool is that? They're going to share a situation they were in, how they got out of it, and then where are they today with that. So if you don't have a ticket, you can text or contact me. I'll put my information up on the banner. And the tickets are $25, and you can come to the whole 3 days for $25. Now, where could you go and be entertained for $25 for 3 days? Also, every speaker is donating some kind of a prize. So if you are in attendance, we'll be drawing for prizes, and our guest list is growing really fast. We always wait until the last week before to really pump it out there, because if you do things too early, have you noticed people forget? And they go, oh yeah, is that coming up? So we like to do that heavy promotion on the back end. There's a business tip for you right there, because people, it's fresh in their mind and fresh in their memory. So if you wanted to get, just call the doc. You can text me or call me. There's my number, 780-909-8571. Call the doc and we'll take care of you. No problem. All right. Well, let's take a little break. And during the break, I want you to be reminded that we are accepting advertising, sponsorships, donations. And if you would like to see your product, program, or service pop up on the show randomly throughout the show, then please contact me. And to do that, oh, yeah, call the doc. There we go again. You can call me again. But you may have a product, a business, a cause, an event, a book, or a business that you would like to see featured on the show. So give me a call or text me, and I'll get back to you with details. All right, so here we go. Here's our little 30-second snowflakes flying up into the air. And then I have a little special video I'm going to play to give you an example of a promotion. So I had one of my facilitators do a promotion for our product line. And I'll play that right after I do this. So here we go. Here's the spot. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to and watching The Today Show. You see that listening thing comes out because I was on radio for many years, so we always talked about you listening, but now we're viewing. All right, so because we're talking self-worth today, self-care, I have a beautiful video that one of my facilitators created. It's about 2 minutes, so I'm going to pop that up on the screen for us to hear Dr. Susie Mearswick from Yucaipa, California, and what she had to say about what we do.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Susie. I decided to come on this platform and share my story, hoping that it will be encouraging to many of you. I grew up in a toxic home where I couldn't speak out. I didn't have any feelings and I wasn't allowed to voice or express myself. This led to me being engaged in a marriage for 24 years where I felt I didn't have a voice. I felt I just had to accept my lot and make the best of it. I was an unempowered woman. I know many people suffer in this way, and we think that that's all we can do in life. However, after 24 years, we did get divorced, and I was crushed. I didn't know where my life was going at this point. I did start to pick up the pieces and recover, and I did a lot of emotional work. One of the things that I did that was very successful was enrolling in Dr. Laurie Davis's self-empowerment workshops. Self-empowerment is a process where you go through, over a period of weeks, an examination of your feelings, your life, and your experiences to find out who you really are. I became a woman with a strong voice. I became an author, a speaker, and an entrepreneur. I learned that who I was mattered. Since taking Dr. Laurie Davis's class, I've gone on to encourage other people that they too can become the hero or heroine of their own story. No matter what situation you find yourself in, your life is valuable. Your voice counts. So find out more about the self-empowerment workshops, because you too can climb out of whatever wreckage you are in and become a glorious person in a new life. Thank you so much.
Wasn't that beautiful? That's Dr. Susie Mearswick in California. And I first met Susie, actually, she and her husband took the couples workshop because she's now in a second relationship and found love as well. Just like I did after 2 failed marriages. Like, if you haven't done it at least twice, you have got nothing to complain about. All right. Okay. Well, let's bring on, and that's what I mean. If you have a little something like that you want to put on the show to promote who you are and what you do. It only takes 2 minutes, and if you need my support with that, I can bring you into the studio. I brought Susie into the studio. I went out of the studio, and she recorded her presentation, and it was easy breezy, and it's like 2 minutes. So it's that's something that we can all do and have access to. All right, well, here she is, our superstar. By the way, Miss Nadzin DeGagne, good morning.
Good morning, Doc, and everybody else. How are you today?
Well, we're doing fine. We're doing fine. You're looking chipper for so early in the morning. But what did you think of Susie's clip there?
You know, fantastic. I think everybody comes from different walks of life, and just to hear her experience and to hear her speak really shows the confidence and how much the workshops did help her out to hear where she started and then where she is now. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and I'm proud of her. That was great.
Yes. And she was all too anxious to do that for us, and so we're happy about that. Well, this
Perfect.
morning, Nedzin, by the way, I just want to tell our viewers, after our Monday show last week with you on, we had like 500 and something plus downloads of the show. You're a
That's just
superstar,
unreal.
girl. You're a
Yeah,
superstar.
I just sit here and try and process that, and I think, whoa. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, we all have voices, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes other people's are heard, or sometimes the message is different or said in a different way, and people just connect. So I'm happy that people are resonating with what's being said, and that I'm able to help in some way. So I think that's a
Mhm.
beautiful thing.
Yeah, for sure. And Kathy says, "You look happy today, Nedzin."
It's the coffee, Kathy. I had a lot. Thanks, Kathy.
Yeah. So I should mention before we get started in our topic, right now we're streaming live on Laurie Davis Facebook page, Laurie Davis Show Host YouTube, Self Worth the Missing Link Superstars Facebook page, the Disability Channel Facebook page, no doubt. And I don't know, there's like tons of platforms. And of course, also Your Home TV, which is our big distributor in the United States. So what happens there is the shows get archived and then broadcast. So I'm just so happy that we're growing by leaps and bounds, and the show's getting a lot of attention. And Mondays today is self-care, self-worth, knowing that we're good enough. And we have what Susie was talking about. We have over 1,000 workshops.
Hmm.
That's it. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It blows my mind when I think about it because I started out with 10
Yeah. Yeah.
and I didn't even know what I was doing, and I didn't know if they would work or not. But that was 32 years ago, and now 30 years later, we have all these beautiful workshops to support people
Mhm.
with three things. One, repair and restoration of your self-worth. Two, building your self-confidence. They're two different things.
Mhm.
And communication skills, helping people with their communication skills. Okay, and we have products for adults, youth, and even young children. I don't know if you've ever seen my children's workbook. I'll have to show it to you.
I would love to see that one.
It's pretty
Yes.
cute. It's pretty cute. So this time last year, Nedzin and our beautiful audience, here's the story. This time last year, exactly this time last year, I was living in a camper with my husband, Ron, another couple, our kids, basically, our adopted kids, 4 dogs in the backyard of someone that I never had met. And, we didn't have a whole lot of entertainment. Internet was iffy and things were really at a standstill. So I thought, this would be a good time to write a book. So I said to Kathy, or at least get one started. I've got a 4 or 5 on the go right now, but this one, 100 Shades of Dysfunction.
Mhm.
And that's what you and I are going to discuss today and have some fun with it, because Kathy and I are sitting at the, picture this, we're sitting at the little, it's like, if you remember the Golden Girls, it's an old television show, and the mom was from Sicily, and she said, now picture this, get the picture. Little camper, not a little tiny camper, but a fairly good sized camper. And yes, our town had been completely evacuated. 8,000 people. A knock came at the door at 12:30 at night. We had 10 minutes to get out. We're downtown. It took us an hour and a half to get out of our little town, even, because 8,000 people were getting out of town, and there was only one way out. The south side was on fire. We couldn't get out the main entrance. So Kathy and I are sitting at the table, and I said, this is creating a lot of dysfunction for people, because it's when the crisis hits, when the trouble comes, and I said, I'd like to make a list of all the different kinds of dysfunction. And my gosh, Nadzin, in 40 minutes, we had over 100 listed, and we didn't even have to go outside of our family.
Yeah.
So what's your definition of dysfunction? What does that mean for you? Good morning, Cheryl.
Dysfunction for myself would be actions that are not supportive of us moving forward, things that are hurting each other, things that are unhealthy. No balance would be another one. Yeah.
Yes, and we don't even realize it. I thought I was always pretty confident and pretty, with it, until I started making the list. And then I started checking off all the ones that I'd experienced.
Yeah.
All of them. So we can't talk about all 100 today, but we've chosen a few that we'd like to talk about. So, sometimes you may not think that certain things are dysfunctional, because you'll say, oh, that's just me. That's just what I do. That's what I learned, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So we have ways to how do we justify it?
I think it's just old tapes and ways that we're raised. My dad would always say, well, if you want to get the job done, do it yourself. If you want to get it done right. And it's like, okay. Or even the independence piece, you can take care of yourself. You don't need. So then you kind of stop allowing people to help, because no worries, I got it. So I feel a lot of it is really that, just kind of who we're around, how we're raised, those sayings, and that really just kind of puts us at a standstill,
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of the ones that I wrote down for us to talk about were, there's all kinds of them, but let's talk first of all about this feeling that many people have that they're not good enough. That's a lack of self-worth. So where does that come from?
I know that we're born perfectly. I know that we come to this earth perfect. So in my experience, it was definitely the people that I was around, conversations being had. My parents were fantastic. They definitely showed me love, and they were kind. But it was, sometimes the brothers picking on me, or, people at school, saying that I was fat and ugly. And I grew up with men, so I was never that girl. Even today I'm wearing lipstick and I'm like, ooh, look at that. Just feeling quite girly. And I'm just like, okay, let's do this. But it's definitely how we're raised, right? Who we're surrounded around. And I know everybody, and even being in the field, Dr. Laurie, everybody walks around thinking that there's something wrong with them. And I was guilty as charged. I was one of those people. And it was definitely the life situations that were happening. Having the unhealthy talk, not talking good to myself. And then it got to a point where I was starting to put Post-its up on my mirror saying, you're beautiful, you're kind, you're wonderful. Because I had to start retraining my mind and realizing that what they had to say wasn't necessarily true. So it's sitting down and saying, okay, Nadzin, who are you? you know, and just kind of making those lists. So yeah, from experience, it's definitely who we're raised around, the superiors, our teachers, our families. That's a big one. You know, blood is family is what we're taught. But if there's no respect or no support, then I'm sorry, I got to cut you out. You know, they're not supporting me moving forward, and we learn our value and our worth along the way, I think. So
in some research that I did to create some of my workshops, I discovered that we're at the age of 3, we start to connect with our value. And by the age of 3, we've already decided whether or not we have any. Isn't that scary? Yeah.
Yeah, 3.
So my position in the family, you know, because a lot of times once, you know, especially if you're the oldest, like I'm the oldest in my family, and then the next baby comes along, now you've lost your position as an only child or whatever. And that changes who you are, because now you're the big sister and now you've got to take care of things, and it just completely shifts for kids. But yeah, by the time we're 3, we've already made some decisions about whether or not we're special or not.
Wow, I don't even think I could tie my shoes at the age of 3.
I know.
That's,
but you see,
yeah,
that emotional reaction, right? It affects our emotions.
For sure.
So let's talk about some things that can happen, you know, to have us lose our sense of worthiness between the ages of 0 and 5. You know, what are some things that can happen to little kids that would rob them of their self-worth and make them feel like they don't have any value? What do we know about
that? I think loss of family members, addictions, abuse. In my experience and with the work that I do, you'd be surprised to how many kids have been abused in that age. Maybe suicides around, even just building character. So if you're being told that you're not good enough, that you're, you know, never going to amount to anything, I think self-talk and the way that people speak to you at that age can definitely be detrimental to a child. And as you're saying, at 3, if we're able to place a value of worth on ourselves, and then we're being told different by the parents or by people that are supposed to love us in our mind, right? This is my mom and dad. They'll never hurt me. Well,
that's right.
Sometimes that's who hurts us the most, you know?
That's right.
So
yeah, and maybe I land, you know, we don't really get to control where we land. Some people believe we do, but you know, there's a philosophy around that. But at the same time, you know, I might land and maybe there's no food, or maybe there's no dad, or maybe I have a little something wrong, you know, I've got a little crooked ear, or my nose is crooked, or it doesn't take much, I guess is what I'm saying, to have that sense of value damaged or hurt, right? Yeah. Neglect. Well, neglect is a form of abuse, right? So we've got physical, sexual, emotional, spiritual. I mean, there's all kinds of abuse. There's tons of it, right? So yeah, that's where that starts. Not be, you know, that's where it starts that there's something wrong with me. And then we go to school. So then, great. So, you know, I get through the first 5 years and then I got to go to school. And now there's another whole scenario of stuff that goes on, such as
bullying. Say bullying at the same time. Yeah, I definitely went through that. And then I think too, part of it is, you know, we're starting to learn our gifts and talents at that age as well. So how it is that we take in information. I learned that I'm more of an artsy and love drama. I was very good at it, but I sure was not a mathematician. That was not a strength of mine. I knew that I had to put in the work, but I feel too that sometimes that's where our lack of value comes from as well, that, oh, I'm not smart enough. Oh, I don't understand this. Well, I'm going to fail the test anyways. So yeah, I could see where it is that we're trying to build this confidence and we're trying to find our place. But then those are the other challenges that are coming through, right? trying to figure out who we are and what we're good at and what our gifts are and where our place is.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
also at that age, elementary school, I was an elementary school teacher, so we could be facing a learning disability. That's when that would
Mhm.
pop up, or I might have an abusive teacher.
Yes.
And I had a teacher, grade 10, homeroom teacher. I didn't do well in school. If I could pull off a 70, that was about it in junior high. And when I got to high school, grade 10, my homeroom teacher looked at me and said, "You know what, Laurie Jeffers, you're never going to amount to anything with those marks." She had already made a pre-judgment about me and what I was going to be able to do or not.
Yeah.
And what happened? I became a teacher. Huh?
Right. Yeah, I can connect with that. I mean, I didn't become the teacher. Well, I guess in a way, it's not that I went to school to be a teacher, but I do teach and educate people walking. But yeah, I can definitely, my math teacher was the same. I was French before I was English, and I remember him saying, "Oh, you're a DeGagne." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am," just all proud and happy, entering high school, having a good time. And I didn't realize we had a bad name. So I'm like, had to go ask the cousins and the brothers, "All right, what did you guys do?" So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's exactly that. When your teachers don't believe in you or have comments like that, how are you supposed to feel confident to approach them to be able to ask you for help? Because they already think you're an idiot or that you're stupid or that you're not going to pass, right? So those prejudgments hold us back and think, okay, well, I can't even talk to my teacher about this. So
Here's Kathy. Kathy, I had a teacher who said I had no abstract reasoning, whatever that means. Yeah, no kidding, right?
no kidding.
That. And then Cheryl put up that the eldest of 5 with an alcoholic dad. Yeah, and yes, I can relate to that one as well. You become parent. You become the parent.
Yeah. Well, and even myself, she had mentioned the bully comment there. I was bullied and then I became the bully.
Yes.
So I realized I was carrying a lot of anger and frustrations and that wasn't okay.
No.
So that's how I dealt with it, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
could go on the whole show just on this one, but that's one. That's a dysfunctional behavior, not feeling good enough.
Yes.
So if you don't feel good enough, that's not going to support you, is it?
Not at all.
Not at all. All right, let's look at another one. I've got 100 of these. I've even got my book cover. It's so cute.
Very cool.
I tried to put it up on the screen, but it wouldn't come up. Anyway, it's like a shattered window in the background. And then there's a flower box on the front of the window.
Okay.
And out of the flower box are the stems coming up, and then the colored letters, dysfunction.
Very cool.
It's really
Very
cute. And
cool.
our beautiful Sylvia Somerville, I told her what I wanted, and she did the artwork. It's really cute.
Wonderful. Yeah, I love her artwork. I could just imagine. Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see here on my list. Oh, here's a good one. Oh, this is good for women. This is a girl talk. No boundaries.
Ugh.
I see.
Can you tell that one hit me right here?
Yeah, no.
Wow, this is intense. Happy Monday, everybody.
Happy Monday, everybody. Well, let's have some fun. I was the kind of person, I didn't have any boundaries. Like if you called me, let's say the church calls you at 4 o'clock and they say, "Laurie, we need 10 apple pies for the supper that we're putting on in an hour. Can you get those to us?" And I'd be running around town like a crazy person, buying up all the apple pies I could find.
Yes.
Instead of saying, "I'm sorry, I needed a little more notice."
Yeah. Oh, boundaries is one that I struggle with. And again, we're on the topic of low self-worth and no value. So I didn't have any when I was younger. There was a lot of situations that happened in life that started taking that away, and there was no such thing as boundaries. I can correlate with that too, Dr. Laurie, where someone says jump, I jump. I mean, I wanted to help people. I would do everything and anything for everybody. But then I was forgetting about myself. So if I'm putting all this energy in other people, why don't I deserve that? And another thing too, like with the boundaries, I think a lot of people feel like they need to explain themselves, because I
Oh,
know I'm guilty of that one. So instead of saying just a straight no when someone asks a question, it's, well, no, because and then you get into
yeah.
this big story and they're just like, okay, well, a simple no could have sufficed, right? But we always feel like we have to explain ourselves, like there has to be validation, and like we're seeking that validation from people to understand. No means no.
Yeah.
How what more out of that, So yeah, boundaries is a tough one. And then looking at the marriage that I was in for 13 years, definitely didn't lay any boundaries there. Um, yeah, just no respect or no, and just to think that that's what I deserved,
Yeah.
you
I know.
know? So yeah, laying boundaries, I think, is a tough one. And as you mentioned, especially for females, we're
Mhm.
very much emotional beings and we want to be able to serve and we want to be able to connect and we want to be able to meet people's emotional needs and have people being heard. And so how far does that go, for us, and how can you give from an empty cup?
That's
So
right.
I'm learning boundaries myself. I definitely
Right.
need them. So
Yes, for sure. And that having no boundaries is tied into, and you mentioned it, people pleasing.
mhm,
Because when we don't have that sense of self-worth, that's how we think we can get it, is if I help others, which is very important because that's really important to all of us, but not to your own detriment, so to speak.
mhm,
Right. And because we are by nature caregivers and nurturers, givers of life,
yes.
children, and that's an expectation that we're there to protect and serve our kids and whoever else. So, yeah, no boundaries. Man, I was terrible. I didn't have any. I
Mhm,
let people walk all over me. I allowed people to try and tell me how to run my business,
mhm,
and took the poor advice because I had this idea that they were smarter than I was or they knew more than I did. So, in other words, I was very good at placing value on somebody else's value,
yes.
but not on my own.
Yeah, and for me, that's kind of what we discuss, and some of the conversations that we're having is that I always need to seek validation from other people. Well, this person said this, and then this person said that, and okay, that's all right. It might support us moving forward, but what I have to say about myself, that's what's most important. We call it self-worth. We call it self-respect because it starts with self. There's a reason,
Yeah.
right? So why is it that we're reaching out to other sources and having them to try and make us feel better?
Yeah.
Well, no,
Right.
it's up to us to live that life and to know who we are and be proud of that.
Hmm.
I shouldn't have to seek someone else's approval. If someone says, "Hey, Nadzin, you're fantastic at this," that's a bonus.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for noticing that, But for us to realize it, that's where it resonates. That's where it
Mhm.
starts, and that's where we get to grow, right?
That- That's right.
Yeah.
Well, years ago, it would have been very important to me, like yourself. That's why we recognize things in others because we were there. So
Mhm.
it was very important for me what other people had to say about me or what they thought of
Yes.
me.
Yeah.
And I realized that was, like you said, a good thing sometimes to be supportive. But at the end of the day, there were people their mouth was like this and the knife was in the back at the same time,
Mhm.
right? They
For
knew what
sure.
I wanted to hear. So that's what they told me.
Yeah.
That's
And then it
another.
goes back down to the boundaries thing. We're not laying boundaries to have the healthy people. We're allowing other people to come in and dictate, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I don't know about any of our viewers out there, but if you lack boundaries, and especially with kids, if you say no, you stick to your no. Don't change your mind,
Mhm.
because then they'll know how to play you. And in relationships, people know how to play us because they've been watching. They understand predictability. We're very predictable and very programmable. So once they know how to push those buttons, they'll continue to push those buttons until you change the security code.
Yeah. Well, and I find with children, it's a bit different. I normally explain to children why I'm saying no, because for me personally, I would ask my parents, well, why? And it wasn't to challenge them, and it wasn't to go against them. I just wanted to gain an understanding to why it wasn't okay that I went to the mall. And for that example, my dad would say, well, you don't have money, you have nothing right now, so you don't have a reason to go. He says, yes, you can go hang out with your friends. He's like, but that's how people start getting in trouble. So he would just kind of explain these things, and then after that, when I understood, it was like, oh, okay, I get it. So
Right.
I find with children, I think we need to explain to a certain extent, just so they can gain an understanding, because they're young and they're still learning these things. Right? We can say no as the answer for sure, but if a child asks why, not to get angry and frustrated, because they're small, they're learning, they're trying to understand these things. They're not trying to challenge you, right? And it's our job to teach.
That's
So,
right. That's right. Absolutely.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. What other one shall I pick? There's so many. There's like 100. Shall I? Which one shall I pick?
How about addictions?
Oh, yes. I never touched alcohol until I was 35. Didn't know what that even, because my dad drank, but my mom didn't. And, my first husband didn't drink. So alcohol wasn't part of our lifestyle. But man, I had a lot of addictions. So a lot of people go immediately to, oh, drugs and alcohol. So let's talk about some other addictions that people can have that they may not realize are addictions.
Shopping online is definitely one of them. Guilty as charged. And also sex. That's an addiction for a lot of people. Money with VLTs and whichever else. I think like taking trips and whichever, I'm not saying is a bad thing, but when it's go, go, go and all the time, I mean, misspend of money and just the addiction and the thrill of being out there and not worrying about the bills and not worrying about those things, I would find would be an addiction as well. How about yourself? I think
well, one of our viewers put one up. Food.
Oh, Cheryl, you were very correct. Yes.
And Kathy, homemade cookies.
Oh my goodness, as long as they're chocolate chip, Kathy, I'm with you, girl.
Right on.
Yeah.
And definitely shopping.
Yeah, for sure.
But other forms of addiction are things like control. Having to be in control of everything, because when we feel out of control on the inside, then we try to control the outside and the people in it. So we've always got to have something to say about everything, or I've got to be the one planning the event, like your dad said, or it won't be done right.
Yes.
Controlling situations, trying to control people.
And when it comes down to the control part too, Dr. Laurie, it's we're taking control over the things that we can't control. They always say just trust the process, but I'm very guilty as charged. I mean, I can definitely be a controlling person when I feel like I have no grasp on anything else. I have to control something. So I go in and I think, well, I can do this and this, and those are the things that I really have no control over. Those are the ones that I really just kind of have to put in the hands of the creator and just trust the process and believe that things will fall into place. But when you're feeling lost like that and you have no sense of control, I think that's where the unhealthy aspect comes in, right? And then we don't realize that we're actually creating more harm than we're doing good. Going back to the addictions, mine was drugs. I was an addict. I was using when I was 17 and 18, and then I became the drug dealer. And it's because I lacked that value and worth, and because of the life situations that were happening at that time, I didn't know how to deal with it. So you know what, let's just numb my pain so I don't have to feel it. And then I pulled myself back being sober 17 years and clean. And I think, whoa, I really did a lot to hurt myself here. Like, what was I doing?
Mhm.
Just realizing that I was very out of control.
Yes.
I had no boundaries. I had my addictions. I was
Mm.
going through abuse and being abusive, if you really think of it. And I sure wasn't feeling good enough.
No.
So, yeah. Yeah.
So I was very controlling even as a young person. And then what did I choose for a career? Teaching school.
Mhm.
Now, can you get a more in the box controlled environment
Right?
than a classroom? And I was a control freak, honestly. And then I chose a career that allowed that to blossom and grow,
Yeah.
right? Because we were responsible for these 30 little people. And so you become very obsessed. There's another dysfunctional behavior.
Yes.
Obsessive, to be obsessive um, about that. And so it was, I just chose the exact right career. I never ever at that time should I have considered being an entrepreneur full time, because when you're an entrepreneur, everything's out of control. So,
Right.
you have to give that up. You can't control
Yeah.
people. You can't control what they're going to do or where they're going to show up or not. Or I just had to surrender all that. But
Yes.
yeah, so control is another addiction. I'll tell you another addiction, though, that's a very good addiction. There's good ones too. See, a lot of people just look at the negative side of addiction, but there's
Right.
positive. Kindness can become an addiction. Success, because an addiction is something that you can't get enough of. When you have a bit of it, you want more, right? So
Mhm.
whether that's crack and cocaine or success, think about that.
Yeah.
So we just replace it with an addiction that's going to support us and carry us through life and give us a beautiful life. And
Hmm.
so some people think I'm addicted to my work. Yeah, I am. And I'm
Hmm.
okay with that. And
Yeah.
I know how to take time off. I know how to take downtime. So yeah, it's
Well, when we speak of balance, right? So we speak of, like, there's two sides of a coin. Where there's good, there's bad. And I know that as human beings, we're used to going to the negative. Very much. I think that is our first response because of what we've been through. I think the breakdown of our self-worth and our value and not being able to see those good things. But people do need to realize that there is pros and cons to everything. Look at COVID. There were pros and cons to that. Pros
yeah,
were that we were able to talk face to face here online and that we were able to still connect. Cons is that nowadays people are too indulged in their phones. What happened to old dates and going out and having conversation, as opposed to, hey, I don't things are working right now, so I think I'm going to end it with you over a text message. And you're like, wow, that was too easy. And then that's not really taking accountability, is it? Right? It's an easy way out. But again, just as an example, there's pros and cons to everything. So yes, when it comes to addictions, very much agree that there are positive ones as well and that there are good ones. So we got to start focusing on those good, because we're
yeah,
worth it at the end of the day. We're
absolutely,
good.
absolutely. Well, we should talk a little bit about the fact that you are a youth empowerment facilitator. What does that mean to you? A youth empowerment facilitator, because your 17 years working with youth in the justice system is so super credible. And I'm so
Mhm.
super honored that you're on my team now, our team, as a youth empowerment facilitator. Because, in other words, if we can work with our youth and our young parents, we can break some of these cycles of
Yes.
dysfunction.
Yes, ma'am. And
So,
that's a big reason I became the worker. As I mentioned, I wanted to be the surgeon, and I went through a lot of life's trials and tribulations, if you will. And it has definitely changed the pre-course of where I was heading. Um, I mean, anybody who knows me, I am the biggest kid at heart. So, you could say it's okay to be childlike, but it's not okay to be childish.
mhm,
you know? And I think that that is something that definitely allows me to connect with our youth. Maybe, you know, it's, well, not maybe, come on, let's have the confidence here. It is
Yeah.
it's my way that I speak with people, the way that I connect, my sense of humor, the way that I look at life, the way that I see things. And I definitely owe that to the situations that I've been through in life. You know, everybody has been through situations in life, and we speak a lot about the credibility, and that's a big part, being able to connect. So I look at my youth and I think, preventative measures. This is who we need to work with. And as you mentioned, Dr. Laurie, it's working with the parents and the families. So now we get to break these certain cycles. And even when it comes down to our Indigenous people, right, we get to break these cycles. And I truly believe that the youth nowadays are the ones that are going to restore balance. So that's why I'm very passionate about this work, letting our youth know how amazing and sometimes it's frustrating to use the word resilient, in my personal opinion, because resilience means that we've been through a lot of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and some people don't want to be known as resilient. Some people just don't want it. For them, it's just a word. But it's to see all the pains and all the circumstances that are happening in a youth or child's life, and being able to paint that picture and showing them, look, this wasn't your responsibility. Your job was to be a kid.
Yeah,
But it sounds
exactly.
like you had to grow up, like you mentioned, you know, you being the oldest, Laurie, and then the next child coming in, and all of a sudden, okay, you got to watch your sister, you got to take care of her, make sure she's okay. I mean, my dad did the same thing. I had my older brother, Mario. We're 4 years apart. So when I started elementary school, we just walk across the street and then the bus would pick us up. But I do remember Dad saying, okay, Mario, it's your job to make sure that Nadzin's safe. You know, you take care of her at school, you make sure. And Mario just, yes, Dad, you know. So even just seeing that is like, okay. But for me, it is about empowerment. I lost myself when I was younger. I tried to take my life a couple times. I didn't care about anything. I didn't feel supported. I had no boundaries. I went to addictions. I went through so much abuse, learning that I was hurting myself. And it's not okay. It really is not okay. I am done fighting myself. I am done saying that I'm not good enough. I am done sitting, holding darkness's hand. I am done with that. I know that I am meant for big things. I know that I am here to love. I know that I am here to support and to show our youth who they are. They have voices. Mine was taken away. And I will not allow that to happen to our youth. They are allowed to have a platform. They are allowed to feel what they feel. They are allowed to have their emotions. And you know what? They need to be heard, and they're not being listened to. So a
Mm-hmm.
big reason why I do the work that I do. This is our future, and they matter. Everybody matters. And these are the ones that we should be listening to, is our
Mm-hmm.
youth and our children, because they still have a bit of that
Yeah.
innocence piece, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So this is where my heart is at, and I don't think I'll ever retire. I'll do this till the day I die, because
Yeah.
I love what I do, and I am here to help. So
Right. Well, you've never heard me say I'm retiring, have you?
no, ma'am, I think the day we rest is the day we die.
That's it. I'll have lots of time to nap
Yeah,
then. I don't
yeah.
need to nap now. Right?
My dad would always say that. I'll rest when I die. Okay,
Yeah,
Dad. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. Well, the thing is, too, I have a passion for youth as well, and or I never would have been a teacher really, and my kids always
Mhm.
mattered to me, and they knew I had their back, and I know that the youth that you've worked with, because I've met some of them, they knew that you had their back,
Mhm.
and I believe that's a big piece of why kids join gangs. They no
Oh,
longer feel like they have a family, and the gang becomes their family. There's lots of research to back that up, and there's so much going on.
yeah.
And
I have
Kathy
the
says
credibility.
the greatest gift to love what you do. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
just in case people don't know this, we have 40 workshops for teens.
Mhm.
40 workshops just for them. Because when I got started and I had developed my adult program first, I had a client come up to me and say, you know, Laurie, my 14-year-old son could really use this information and the weekly support, an hour a week. This would be amazing. Have you ever considered creating something for youth? And I said, well, not to date, but that would be a no-brainer for me. And so we put that together, and then we piloted it. We never put anything out in the marketplace till we piloted it. And so we did a pilot in a community in New Brunswick, the second largest reservation on the East Coast, Big Cove, English name, Elsipogtog Mi'kmaq name. And I've got to go and visit them 20 years later. And I couldn't believe it. The whole community had turned around. I drove by the main entrance to the community 5 times because I didn't recognize it.
Yes.
Shopping mall. There was a pharmacy. There was just a big old barn there falling down when I was there. So it changed the hearts of the children. We put it out there. I went to chief and council and said, I will fund this thing. I will donate everything. But I had to hire 14 women in the community to help me because we had 72 kids show up. And for 10 weeks, they never missed a week, lined up outside the school for their hourly program once a week for 10 weeks. It's an amazing story. And then I got to go back and see the results of our labor. It was amazing.
Well, to sit there and realize that 72 youth went through the program, and we're sitting here having the conversation that that's our future. So I could just imagine what your thoughts and feelings were. Passing it 5 times is kind of funny, right? You sit there and you think, okay, I remember that there was a tree stump. I remember that we turned here, and then something's completely different. But then just to see that, Laurie, just to see that the community was able to step up, serve their youth, empower them. And then you go back 20 years later and realize that these 72 youth that you worked with, these are the ones that created that.
I know.
So why wouldn't communities want that?
I know. All the streets are paved. There's a beautiful new subdivision there. And my friend, my friends that I stay with when I'm there, he was the one who reminded me. He said, well, my kids were there in that program. My son owns that business down there. You know, so it was wonderful to see the legacy of our work.
Exactly.
Years ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, like you just said, who wouldn't want that for their community?
Exactly. And we were just talking about gangs. I mean, I worked with them. And even when I was younger and I was dealing, guess who I was dealing for? That's when I realized, okay, Nadzin, it's time to get your stuff straight here and figure things out. But what I noticed with that is the biggest component that we're talking about here is that lack of value and worth. You know, I had this young youth, he was in a gang kind of higher up, but my rules were please and thank yous go a long way. If you're not going to say please and thank you, then hey man, I'm not going to deliver, right? This guy was so darn polite. I said, you know, for a heavy gangster, I said, you know, you're pretty polite. And he's like, thanks. Well, we laughed so hard, but then that allowed me to start bringing out those gifts and talents. So why is it that you put yourself in there, right? And then it allowed me to gain an understanding. I know why I was around them. And that's exactly it. When we're being raised in families where there's alcoholism and addiction and abuse, and at the end of the day, we just want to be loved and appreciated. Yeah. So we go to the crew where, hey man, they dangle the money and say, no worries, I got you covered. You know, I got you covered, homie, no worries, you know, and they don't realize that really they're putting us more in harm's way and they're loyal to a crew that isn't loyal to them. And it's sad. That's how all my youth are racked up with these charges.
Yeah.
In the Youth Criminal Justice Act, you can't be charged unless you're 12 years of age. So you got 7, 8, 9-year-olds running around with guns, doing everybody's bidding. And then once they're 12, they start racking up those charges. Wow. And these guys just know that's fine. That's on them. They're my guppies. They're my slaves, as they call them, you know? So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's that sense of belonging. And when we're not healthy and we don't have the boundaries and the addictions and we're going through the abuse and we're not feeling good enough, anybody that says, I love you, or hey man, I got you, it's that sense of belonging. So
Yes.
not always is it a healthy thing, right? So it's beautiful to hear that story of 72 youth completely changed the way that place is run, and businesses and entrepreneurs and motivation and knowing who they are and giving back to their community. I think that's why you and I are so passionate about this and going into communities. It's not about us going in and changing everything. It's about us going in with the tools, showing them the tools and allowing them to step up and empower their people.
That's right.
The ripple effect is a beautiful thing.
That's right.
So,
and that's all we want to do. That's all we want to do.
exactly.
So we're getting close to closing time here already. Our
Oh my
hours.
goodness.
Yeah, we've got like 3 minutes. So I just want to mention the Recovery and Performance Summit this coming weekend online. We do it 4 times a year. And today I'm going to put down 2 tickets for the summit in our booty for our draw. And we'll do our draw on Thursday this week because Friday I'll be busy. So
Right.
we'll put in 2 tickets to the Recovery Summit. This is, we have 18 speakers coming in to share a situation they were in, how they got out of it. Very inspiring. Every speaker has donated a gift, and it's just a good thing that we do. So here we are, the Recovery and Performance Summit. Nadzin, I want to thank you so much for coming in on Monday. It's such a, because you and I can put the information out there in a way that people understand and know that, yes, we'll have guests on Monday. I have a beautiful guest next Monday, Sabine Becker. I had forgotten that it was Memorial Day in the States, and I thought it was today. But she'll be here next week, and you can join us too. And Sabine is someone that has really overcome some huge obstacles in her world. All right. Tomorrow is finance. If you want to know more about money, tune in because my buddy Ramin Modiri from California will be in, and he has a really fun show planned for tomorrow. He told me about it yesterday, but I'll keep it a secret. All right. So you've been listening to the Today Show. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We love our viewers, and we're just having so much fun here every morning at 9 o'clock, 5 days a week. Bye.
Thank you so much for sharing the space. Have a great day, everybody.